Lena and Aaron lived in a village where grief was their only common language. Lena had no mother, Aaron had no father. They spent their days under a single tree, holding hands and promising to be the sisters they both lacked. Lena eventually convinced her father to marry Aaron's mother, hoping to turn their friendship into a family. For a few weeks, they shared a home, a bed, and the same stories at night, a fragile attempt to mend two broken houses into one. That peace shattered when Lena's father fell ill and died on a quiet, rainy night. With the father gone, the stepmother's warmth vanished instantly, replaced by a voice that treated Lena like a stranger in her own home. The death of the biological patriarch did more than bring sorrow. It removed the only person protecting Lena's status. Overnight, the blended family dissolved, leaving Lena vulnerable to a woman who no longer had any reason to be kind. The household split into two different worlds. Aaron was told her hands were too soft for work, while Lena was kept on the floor, scrubbing and washing until her joints ached and the sun went down. One winter morning, the cruelty took a specific, impossible shape. The stepmother ordered Lena to go into the frozen forest and find fresh strawberries, a fruit that shouldn't exist in the dead of winter. Lena was cast out with no coat and no shoes. Her only resources were 2 dry pieces of bread, and the threat that if she returned without the fruit, she wouldn't be allowed back inside. The cold was immediate. Her feet went numb against the ice, and her fingers locked up as she pushed into the whiteout. Every step deeper into the forest was a struggle to keep her heart beating against the wind. A blizzard is a force of nature, but the locked door behind Lena was a human choice. Surrounded by miles of frozen wood, her survival now depended on her willingness to keep moving when there was no logical reason to hope. In the middle of the wasteland, Lena found a small cottage glowing with heat. Inside were 3 dwarves who watched her with curious eyes. Shivering and near death, she asked only for a moment of shelter by their fire. The dwarves asked her to help them by sweeping the heavy snow off their roof. Even though her hands were raw from the cold, Lena climbed up and worked until the last pile of ice was cleared away. When she sat down to rest, the dwarves asked if she had food. Lena took out the 2 dry pieces of bread, the only things she had left to eat, and offered to share them with her hosts. Her actions brought an immediate result. Under the snow she had just cleared from the roof, she found a patch of bright, ripe strawberries growing in the middle of the frost. The dwarves gave her a final gift for her kindness. They decreed that from that day forward, gold coins would fall from her mouth whenever she spoke, matching the value of the heart she had shown them. Lena had nothing, yet she chose to work and to share. Her reward didn't come from a place of abundance, but from the fact that she remained generous even when she was at her most desperate. When Lena returned with the gold, the stepmother didn't see a miracle. She saw an opportunity. She immediately dressed Aaron and sent her into the forest to collect the same wealth. Aaron went into the storm heavily bundled in warm furs. She carried a basket filled with meats, cakes, and wine, everything she could possibly need to stay comfortable in the cold. She reached the cottage and pounded on the door, demanding entry. When the dwarves asked her to sweep the roof, she refused, claiming she didn't like heavy work and had no intention of helping. While the dwarves watched, Aaron opened her feast and ate the sweets and meats by herself. She didn't offer a single bite, ignoring the small hosts standing right in front of her. The dwarves said nothing, but as Aaron turned to leave, they whispered a curse into the air. They let her return to her mother empty-handed, waiting for her to realize what she had truly earned. When Aaron finally saw her mother and tried to speak of the gold she expected, the transformation was complete. Instead of gold coins, slimy, warty frogs leaped from her mouth with every single word. Aaron expected the reward without the sacrifice. Because she arrived with plenty and refused to give anything back, her own selfishness became the only thing she had left to share with the world. Furious at Aaron's curse, the stepmother blamed Lena for the frogs. In a final act of hatred, she threw Lena back out into the snow, leaving her to be buried by the rising storm. A prince riding through the forest saw a figure slumped in the drifts. He stopped his horse and wrapped her in his own heavy cloak, pulling her back from the edge of the freeze. When Lena woke and told her story, the gold coins fell, but the prince stayed because of the person she had become. He saw a girl who had survived the impossible and managed to keep her grace intact. The prince didn't just find a girl who spoke gold. He found someone whose endurance was more valuable than the coins she produced. In the end, the traits that helped her survive the cottage were the same ones that won her the throne. Lena was brought to the palace and married the prince, beginning a life defined by honor, safety, and the warmth she had been denied for so long. In the village, the stepmother and Aaron were left in a house that felt colder than the forest. They lived in isolation, surrounded by frogs and the memory of the kindness they had thrown away. The two paths ended where their actions directed them. One girl found a kingdom because she gave when she had nothing. The other found only the cold because she refused to give even when she had everything.